So we've had a look at the team's pick for the last year, but what about the year ahead? The team have obviously had some real favourite items that they've either kept, bought, or been very loath to part with. And that begs the question, what are they really looking forward to getting their hands on in 2023? So I want to ask all of you guys, is there anything that you are really, really waiting for to come out in 2023? Either something very specific that you've heard a rumour about, or just a bit of a niche in the market and you think it's really high time somebody did this particular thing heads and shoulders above everybody else. What are you waiting for?
Well, I've got some things in my ears at the moment, which I'm not going to tell you anything about until I review them, which are absolutely extraordinary. I'd never even heard of them before, but watch this space.
Oh, bit of a tease there. Thank you, Bruce.
And
we are now all
that would
really focusing on your ears, trying to see what's in there, trying to get a brand name. That's it. You're
no
not telling
brands.
us anything else.
No, and except my pick for this year of where we're going to see lots and lots of really interesting stuff as personal audio. On the site, at the moment we've got everything for headphones, earphones, players, dedicated amps, etc., all in one section. And very early on in the year, we'll be splitting those out into separate ones because it's a market that is fabulous and really, really active. And there's going to be some cracking products coming out of that.
It is like certain areas of the market have really busy years, isn't it? So you're expecting a busy year in that department. Steve, what are you looking out for this year? A particular item, or are you just going to wait and see what grabs you?
Well, disappointingly, I'm not aware of any major projector announcements or releases this year, so that's a shame. Although I have to say, in the case of JVC, they've gone away from releasing a slightly different model each year to releasing free firmware updates to add features or improve performance. So that's actually something I welcome, because it means you can buy something and it stays relevant rather than suddenly being out of date within a year. In terms of TVs, though, I'm very keen to see the new LG G3, which they are claiming can hit 2000 nits of peak brightness, which will be amazing for an OLED. Also, be very keen to see what Samsung have continued to do with their new QD OLED panels with them S95C, I believe it will be called this year. So those two should be quite interesting, kind of competing technologies and both claiming to be very bright. So whether that's done with any kind of accuracy will be another question. And in terms of sort of multi-channel audio, there's a new, I think it's coming out this year. So it was announced last year, but it's due this year, and we haven't seen it yet, but hopefully I'll be seeing it quite soon, which is the new Marantz AV10 AV processor. That looks interesting. And there's also a new Denon amplifier in this case, AV amplifier, the A1H, which again looks to be a throwback to the good old days of gigantic Denon amps that weigh as much as a neutron star, and have I think it's got 15 channels built into it, which should keep even me happy.
And to drop another tease in, you mentioned Marantz. We might have an item coming up on Marantz very soon. So thank you for mentioning that. Andrew, is there anything particular that you're looking out for this year? Are you going to any shows that you're excited about where they're going to drop some new kit? Or is it when you get the hands on the kit that you get really excited about these new things?
I've been very excited about small hi-fi. There's a growing trend of very good sounding hi-fi in very small forms, just because it can be done now with the various advances in technology and the fact that we're not tied into the size of a record or a CD anymore. We're to a great extent streaming, and there is a lot of very compact, very good hi-fi, both systems and components coming through at the moment, which is answering that problem of what can hi-fi that should be better heard than seen. I think everybody wants really good sound. People don't want a room full of black boxes. Now you can do it.
Now that's very interesting, coming from a man whose pick of the year was the quirkiest looking thing you can possibly imagine. And when we've looked at some bits of compact hi-fi before, the compact hi-fi I tend to see around is possibly no more interesting to look at than a ring binder. So that's a very interesting thing coming from you to say when you pick this really quirky pick of the year with dials and cogs and almost pinball machine flippy bits on it, but you're getting very excited about the compact stuff. So that's very interesting. Who hasn't had a shout yet? Ed, what are you looking forward to?
This is not so much a specific product. I'm sure there'll be things that delight me over the course of the year. I'm looking forward to an ongoing trend where two-channel hi-fi is making itself more accessible to being used in the manner that people actually want to use product in 2023. So I've got, at the moment, in a curious quirk of fate, I have not one but two integrated amplifiers that have VU meters on the front. They're giving you the firm 1975 look from their front aspect, but around the back they've got network streaming, they've got HDMI ARCs, they will connect directly to a television, mate with its volume control, and work essentially like a soundbar. And I'm really delighted after a painfully long period of time that convenience is no longer a dirty word in high-end audio, and it shouldn't be. We shouldn't have to suffer for our art. We shouldn't have to accept that hair shirt and minimalism is the only way that you can do these things. And I'd like to see lots more of that, please, because we have to move in step with how other people and other industries and other people vying for consumers' money are. And I think making some of the things that we do less absurd, obtuse, and difficult to use is going to win many, many friends. I think that is something that we've grudgingly started doing, and I would very much like us to continue doing it. The other thing, I suppose this could maybe perceived to be a negative. I am a fan of retro. I have 23 pairs of trainers that are all like that, and so on and so forth. But I would argue as an industry, we have reached peak retro. I would now quite like to see things that are not just mining our past. We're off to a good start. We had those new NAME 200 series components. They have debuted, and NAME has changed their casework for the first time in 20 years. This is equipment that looks forward rather than back. I'd like to see a couple more companies be a little bit braver in their design. I echo Andrew's sentiments that it doesn't necessarily have to be 430 mils wide either. It can be some interesting shapes. Let's be bold. Let's not constantly look backwards in design terms. Let's look forward as well.
Thank you very much. And then this means that the final word goes to you, Simon. What are you looking forward to?
Well, I can get behind everything Ed's just said, but actually I'm with Steve a little bit in terms of television, but for slightly different reasons. As I mentioned earlier, I was at CES at the start of this year. It was the first time I'd been in 3 years. And what had changed more than anything in 3 years was the emphasis or otherwise on television. In 2020, huge swathes of exhibition space were given over to television ranges, and that was simply not the case in 2023 at all. Possibly, this may be the start of the television industry breaking itself free of the tyranny of the 12-month model cycle, which has seemed unsupportable to me for a long time and a little bit pointless. So it's possible that television manufacturers have seen the error of their ways in that respect. So yeah. Oh, but I'll tell you what I am actually most interested in finding out sooner rather than later is whether or not Netflix are going to stop me sharing my password with my mother.
Well, it remains to be seen. We will bring you more news on that as soon as we find out. Obviously, here on Sound Advice, we like to keep you up to date with all things streaming. But guys, thank you so much for your look back at 2022, your look ahead for 2023, and what you're going to be keeping your eyes on. And we will firmly look to the future there as well, and look forward to some of the reviews coming out that you've just teased us about. Thank you very much for that. So it sounds like there's plenty to look forward to this year, and I hope that's whet your appetite for the next Sound Advice show. We'll see you then.